Hey guys, what's up? It's Shelby and welcome to my channel. So today I'm doing another murder, mystery, and makeup video. It's actually midweek mysteries and makeup. So today I have a very interesting case for you guys. I'm actually really excited about this case. I haven't ever heard about this case until tonight, actually, when I was researching for it. I usually just look up other people's YouTube videos, like Eleanor. I forget what her last name is, but her name is Eleanor. She's got red hair. Her or I look up Bailey Sarian, Kendall Ray, Danielle Han, and Georgia something. I forget what she is, but I love all their videos. So I just usually look up those and then find ones that I find interesting. And this one really caught my eyes, so let's just go ahead and get right into it. Today's makeup look is inspired by Justin Tooley, I think is how you say it. This is the look that I'm going to kind of create. It's not gonna be exactly like that. I mostly just got the inspiration from the way that he did the clouds and stuff. So that's kind of what I'm gonna be doing. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. I need to tie my hair back though. Alright, so this case actually takes place in 1991. It is a somewhat old case, and it's a very kind of sad case, to be honest. It went cold for a really long time, and then it was actually not that long ago just solved. Today we're going to be talking about Jessica Lynn Keene. She was born in Columbus, Ohio, and that is also where she resided in. It was Columbus, Ohio. Her parents were Rebecca and James Keene. Jessica was a very kind of your average girl next door type of girl. She was very kind, very sweet, popular kid in school. She was really good at school. She had really good grades, was very dedicated to school. She was also a cheerleader. She enjoyed performing a lot. I feel like she was kind of a theater kid. It never really said if she was, but I feel like she would have been somewhat a theater kid. She enjoyed performing a lot, and cheerleading really spoke to her. She was a very well-behaved kid. She never, got in trouble. She never got suspended. She never got, major trouble, ever. Not even, with her parents, sneaking out or anything like that, or anything. She was actually a very popular musician. She would write her own music and compose it, and she was a really, really good singer. She actually, what she wanted to be when she grew up was an actress or a singer, but when she kind of grew up and realized that that's not necessarily a career that's easy to get into, she figured when she would go to college for zoology, actually, because she really loved animals. She loved taking care of them. She loved being around them, and she really enjoyed animals a lot, and she found it fascinating to, learn more about. So like I said, she was a very well-behaved child. She went to school every day. She, got good grades, studied all the time, was a cheerleader. I mean, she was your average, high school sweetheart, teenager, girl next door type, like I said. But all of that changed when she turned 14, because she had actually met a guy who was your typical bad guy. I mean, he dropped out of high school. He, people say that he had petty misdemeanors and crimes, but, I can't prove that. But some people say, he was a bad guy, and he was also African American. His name was Sean Thompson, and he was actually 18 years old, and at the time of meeting Jessica, she was only 14 still, so quite a big age gap there, you see. Like I said, her life changed when she met Sean. She started skipping school and, blowing off her homework and not listening to her mom. And like I said, she'd skip school. Her grades were going down. She actually even quit the cheerleading team. This boy, she would go out and see him. She'd sneak out and, go and see him and be with him. And she was really in love with him. This was one of the first boyfriends she had, and she was just in love with him. She was so fascinated by having one. She, kind of let everything slip because of it. Her life was kind of going downhill. I mean, she was getting in trouble, and, from her mom, of course, she wasn't going to school, which means her grades were dropping, and, her mom just wanted the best for her because, she had all this potential, as a 14-year-old girl with all these good grades and, such a social life. I mean, she had it going for her for a while, and then, once this started happening, of course, her mom did not like Sean at all. She didn't want her daughter, getting into that kind of lifestyle. A lot of people speculate that some of it was racism because, like I said, he was African American, she was white, and this was the early 90s. So racism is still big today, but it was even bigger in the 91 and stuff. Most white families didn't want their kids dating out of their race yet. It was still kind of that era. So a lot of people speculate that some of the hatred towards Sean was racism, but you can't really prove that, unless her mom came right out and said it, but she never has. But it was kind of a iffy situation because, looking at it from Rebecca's point of view, it was like, I'm happy, I'm with a boy that I, absolutely love and adore, and my mom's trying to take that away from me, whereas her mom was just, trying to have the best for her, and she didn't think Sean was the best. At one point, she actually tried to forbid them from seeing each other for a while. She tried, to tell her she couldn't go see him until her grades started getting up and stuff like that, but she can't monitor her daughter every hour on the hour, so they still found ways to see each other, and stuff, but, it was a rough time. I mean, her and her mom never used to fight before this, and then all of a sudden, when she started, rebelling and doing all this, they couldn't even be in the same room with each other without an argument just spiraling and starting, and it was, taking a toll on their relationship. But like I said, Rebecca was looking at it like, well, my mom doesn't want me to be happy. I'm finally happy, and she's trying to take that away from me, whereas her mom was just, trying to keep her life in order, pretty much, trying to keep her on the amazing path that she was going down. But teens will be teens, I guess. And during this point, Rebecca was didn't want to be there anymore. Her mom and them would get into fights, and she'd tell her how much she wanted to leave. She didn't want to be there anymore. She wanted to run away. She'd even expressed to a lot of her friends that she just completely just wanted to run away. She didn't want to be there anymore. But she never had any plans for it. She didn't know what she would do if she ran away. It was just, like, ugh, my mom's being, like this, and I just want to run away. It was mostly just open words, open threats. But, like I said, their relationship was going downhill, and her mom ended up putting her in a group home. It wasn't against Rebecca's will or anything, because at this point, Rebecca was ready to leave. She was like, anything to get me out of this house. So she willingly went, for them to both kind of just get a break from each other, because their relationship was going downhill fast. And, Rebecca's mom was just trying to figure out the best possible way to handle this. And so she put her in a group home. I have something in my eye. Isn't fun. So on March 4th, 1991, Jessica moved in to the Huckleberry House in West Jefferson, Ohio, and she did so good at this place. Once she, got settled in and everything, in just a short time. This was only going to be a short stay. It was only supposed to be a couple weeks, max, just to let each other get away and, be okay. But Rebecca actually excelled at this place. She was getting her grades back up and going to school and doing her homework. And during this time, she was away from Sean because, she couldn't be. I mean, they could have phone calls and everything, but they couldn't be together like that anymore. So obviously the problem was Sean. I can't talk and do my eyeliner, so. Alright, so now on March 15th of 1991, Jessica calls her boyfriend Sean from, the group home. She's still in the group home and everything, doing really good. It was been almost 2 weeks that she was there, and she calls Sean, and they have a conversation, but I didn't poke myself again. But that conversation quickly took a turn and ended up turning into a really big fight between them, and they called it quits over the phone. They broke up and were like, nah, like we're done, you know. Like right then and there, they just decided that it was over and stuff. So, you know, I mean, Jessica was obviously upset. I mean, how can you not be? I mean, they just broke up. So Jessica was obviously upset. So she was gonna go for a walk. She wanted to get some fresh air, get outside, clear her head and everything. There was actually a mall that was only about one bus ride away, which she had gone to quite a few times during her stay here, just to get away for a little bit. So she kind of knew her way around. So she had taken a walk to the bus stop where she would get on the bus to go to this mall. But at the bus station, that would be the last time anyone saw Jessica alive. At 11 p.m., the staff at the, what is the place called? I always forget it. Even while I was writing, I'm like, the what? The Huckleberry House. The Huckleberry home, they did their routine checkup on the girls and stuff, and, you know, they went to every room, make sure everybody was still in the house, but obviously Jessica was not there, and they were pretty concerned because this was very, you know, not like her. So, but they didn't panic too much. They called her mom. Maybe she lost track of time or something, and so they just called Jessica's mother, Rebecca, and was like, hey, have you seen her? We had, you know, she isn't here for her routine, you know, she with you, have you seen her? And Jessica's mom, Rebecca, was like, I haven't talked to her in a while, and quite a while since she's, you know, really been there. So they got off the phone, and Rebecca called the police to report her missing only a couple hours after she was last seen. So the police came down, of course, and they, you know, talked to everybody to see if, you know, they knew where she went or anything. But with Jessica's track record right now, it was looking like a runaway case to the police, but, you know, her mom was like, absolutely not, like, this isn't like her and stuff. But if you look at her record, you know, kind of just seemed like it would be a runaway case if you're looking at it from the perspective of the police, you know. But they tried to believe her mom and that it wasn't a runaway case, but, you know, looking at all the circumstances, it's kind of what it looked like. I mean, she went on a bus ride and didn't come back. They checked the bus station and everything, and she wasn't there. They checked the mall, and she wasn't there. And it was now midnight, so it's been about 6 hours since anybody last seen Jessica. At this point, she could really honestly be anywhere at this point. Because, like I said, it's been 6 hours. You can get quite far in 6 hours, so it was, you know, not looking great. You know, it might be something that she would do, but, like, the only reason she would have done this, you know, was with Sean, and Sean was out of the picture now, so it was kind of looking a little suspicious. But she also could have gone to Sean's house, you know, that day. Maybe he wanted to talk it out or something, or wanted to make it up to her, you know, said, hey, come over, let's figure this out. Maybe they lost track of time, fell asleep or whatever. That could very well be. You know, maybe they made up or something and everything was, you know, all good. The police, you know, was asking everybody, you know, all of her friends and stuff, like, if she were to run away, where would she run away to? And they all said Sean Thompson's house. So they were going to track down Sean, but they figured maybe she'll just come back on her own accord. You know, it's not a big deal, which is whatever. They figured she'd come back on her own accord because she was 14 years old. Maybe she just went out, you know, got late, and she'll be back tonight. 2 days later, sadly, Jessica's body was found in a graveyard. She was pretty much naked at this point. I'm going to throw in right now, I'm going to be throwing in some graphic details at this point, so if you do not like rape nor murder and all of that, I would stop watching right now or skip ahead. But her body was found half naked. The only thing she had on was one of her socks and her bra. And, you know, when they found her body, they could obviously tell that it was foul play. She had cuts, bruises, scratch marks all over her. They knew that she had been hit with blunt force trauma of some sort to have died. They knew that right away is when they saw her. And the autopsy did confirm that she had been hit in the head, and that is how she passed away. Her skull was fractured, and She had also very minor injuries to the rest of her body, and it also came out in her autopsy that she was raped before she was murdered, and they did find DNA on her body. There was also, the autopsy showed that there was no drugs nor alcohol in her system, so she was completely sober, and they also figured out the murder weapon. The murder weapon was a tombstone that was at the graveyard, and the person who did this pulled a tombstone out of the ground, hit her so hard with it, the tombstone cracked open in half. Do you understand how angry you have to be to rip a tombstone out of the ground and hit somebody so hard that you crack stone in half? I can't even imagine that kind of pain. I don't even think your body can handle that kind of pain. They could also confirm the fact that this tombstone broke into pieces because another piece of it was found a little bit away from her body. Found too was covered in blood. So, and they figured that her death was long and awaited. Sadly, they figured that she was running naked through the graveyard for a while before she was caught by her attacker and eventually murdered, because they found one of her other sock was actually found at the entrance of the graveyard. Also found footprints that would match about the size of Jessica's foot all over the graveyard, and they also found a knee print by one, if not more, behind one tombstone. So she was obviously hiding behind these tombstones to get away from her attacker, which is just so sad. And then, of course, ultimately she passed away, or got murdered. Not necessarily passed away, she got murdered. So now the police are looking for motives and everything, and of course it was obviously a sexual motive because of the rape, but why Rebecca? I keep calling her Rebecca, but I do mean Jessica, and that is my apologies. Was it somebody that Rebecca knew? Somebody that knew Rebecca? Was it opportunistic? Did they see her there, lure her into their car? What? And if it was, why'd they kill her? Like, why'd they, and she was I forgot to mention she was found 20 miles away in a cemetery. So she was 20 miles away from from the Huckleberry house. She was found 20 miles away from that. So somebody obviously had to bring her all the way there. You know what I'm saying? So stuff just wasn't matching up for the cops. They didn't know. They ruled robbery out right away because, if it was a robbery gone wrong, none of her stuff was missing. She still had her watch on, and, she still had all of her jewelry on, but the only piece of jewelry that was missing from Rebecca was a necklace. It was a gold-plated necklace with the word taken on it that Sean had bought for her, and that was the only piece of jewelry that was missing. So that was a little suspicious, but like I said, they broke up, so maybe Rebecca just out of anger took it off and was like, fuck it, we're not together anymore, he pissed me off. I mean, I've done that in the past, taken jewelry off that an ex has gotten me and was like, nah, fuck it, we broke up, I don't give a shit no more. So that could very well be. But, the cops, like I said, they kind of thought that as well, but they were like, it's not something to rule out. They, kept that in the back of their head, that necklace was missing. So now they had to find a timeline of what happened to Rebecca. So we know that she, was gone by 6:30. She, was about 6:30. She was at the bus stop. They knew that for the most part, but after that, she was completely missing. I mean, there was no other trace of her besides then. So she was either taken, she either got on the bus, maybe she stopped somewhere else on the bus, got off at a bus, stop. Maybe she did go to the mall, got taken by the mall, or maybe she didn't even get on the bus at all, and somebody took her from the bus stop, or somebody picked her up and offered her a ride, cheaper than the bus, or somebody that she knew was like, hey, I can bring you, but nobody really knew that, So one theory that actually turned into the official theory of, what happened that night was that she was at the bus station, and she was, she got, somebody picked her up and, was like, hey, I'll give you a ride. It could have been somebody she knew, somebody that she had no idea who it was, but, maybe she didn't mind. Maybe, it was 91. I mean, stranger danger wasn't that big of a thing in the, 90s as much as it is now. So maybe she was like, whatever, I don't want to sit here and wait for this bus. You're already here. So she gets into this car, and they take her 20 miles, down the road. And they actually believe that they held her hostage for the 6 hours that she was gone, for about 6 hours, and that is when they raped her in the car, obviously. Then they believe that at some point during this hostage and everything, that Rebecca actually got out of the car, and it was pitch dark. Like I said, it was nighttime, so it was pitch dark out, and she just started running, and there was a little farmhouse that was up by the cemetery that maybe had a light on, and that's where she was running to. But she ran into the, graveyard, and she's, looking around and everything, and, she's running away, but her attacker's catching up, so she's just pretty much running, trying to get somewhere. And they also speculate that at some point during this, she ran into, because it was dark, she ran into one of the gates, pillars, there's like these, the pillars that hold up the gate, and it knocked her over for a second and stopped her, and that gave her attacker a chance to, get to her pretty much. And that is when the attacker, picked up the gravestone, hit her over the head, then grabbed a piece of it and continued to beat her. They overkilled. I mean, she was dead within, that one hit, and then the attacker continued to hit her with that other stone that they found that was full of blood. Just, left her to be found, which is really, really, really sad, to be honest. So they started asking, about Sean and stuff, because that's pretty much the only suspect they had at this point. Also use code RayXO at Stargirl Cosmetics for some money off, help a girl out, get some commission, make some money. Anyways, they asked Jessica's parents about this Sean, her boyfriend, and they had only negative things to say, because, I mean, he came into her life completely, fucked it up. She stopped doing good in school, so the cops were a little suspicious, because, obviously all they're getting from, her parents is very, very negative things. They speculated, well, maybe, he picked her up, and because they broke up, and then he got mad because she didn't want to get back together with him, and that is, to assert his dominance, he raped her and beat her up, and then killed her, I guess. But I didn't believe that while I was watching this. When I first heard this, I did not believe that at all, to be honest. I don't think he had the motive to do it. I don't think it upsetted him that much to do that. I think in more likelihood, Jessica just took the necklace off, and then, and this was more of a spree kill by somebody who didn't know her and just did that. But that's more what I was thinking, because I did not believe the story, he got so angry that he killed her because they broke up. I didn't believe that, to be honest. But they, of course, they still had to figure it out, so they went to his house, interviewed him, and he actually was in Florida at the time that this murder happened, and the abduction and everything. And they all had proof. Him and his friends went down to Florida for a short trip, and they all had proof that they were all down in Florida, whether it was receipts or something to prove that they were all down in Florida during this time. But, they asked him, can I have a DNA sample to match against, the one that we found? And he was totally okay with it, gave him a DNA, and it did come back negative. So it was not Sean. They got a lot of publicity for this. I mean, it was all over the news, newspapers, everything. They were giving out a $3,000 reward that just kept bumping up from there, trying to get any information that they possibly could get to lead to an arrest to somebody. But, I mean, it honestly, by this time it was going cold. They had no other leads besides Sean, and that checked out clear. They thought this wouldn't be an easy case, so we have Sean, and it wasn't. So once the case went cold, they put the file away and everything, but they check up on it every once in a while. If there was any kind of, rape, beating, any kind of that thing like that, they'd put it up against Rebecca's, check every detail, make sure that they weren't connected or anything like that, to try and find somebody, but it was all just going downhill from here. But a new law actually came out during this time that stated that if you commit a violent crime, any violent crime, your DNA has to go into the database for later cases to, put you in. So, and like I said, DNA was retested every once in a while because, you never know, new data can come in at any time. So they rechecked it every once in a while. And so, they did for Rebecca's as well. They, retested DNA, seeing if anybody else, could be a match that just went in jail or is just getting out of jail or, something. March 17th, 2008, exactly 17 years after they discovered her body, DNA was matched. It was a match to a man who was just released from prison for, guess what? The rape and kidnapping of 2 other females. And the robbery of them as well. His name is Martin Lee Smith Jr., and he was 51 years old when they found him. He was in prison from 1991 to 2005. This is sticking to my eyelash. Excuse you. And like I said, this law that was passed was actually passed when he was in jail. So when he got out, they had to get his DNA when he got out to put on it. And then in 2008, they, matched the DNA with him, and they finally got it. You're asking, well, he was in jail in 1991. How could he have done it? He was out on bond during March, during this time. He was out on bond for these charges. He was actually out on bond for a while before his case was out, so he didn't have to sit in jail. That's what bond is. If you didn't know bond, you get bond and then you go out before your sentence date instead of staying in prison or jail or whatever. So he was out on bond when he did this, and he said he had no intentions of killing her. He just wanted to pick somebody up and rape them and let them go, but she put up a struggle and got out, and he figured that's one more charge against him because she would have gone and told the police and everything. So he chased her down and killed her, and he admitted to everything, every single thing. He admitted to raping her, he admitted to beating her, he admitted to killing her and everything. I mean, he was like, I did it. You got me, In March of 2008, Martin was arrested for the murder of it, and like I said, he confessed to every single thing. He was actually up for the death penalty at this time, so if he pled guilty, he wouldn't go to jail. So I think that's more why he pled guilty, because he didn't want to get the death penalty. But he did plead guilty to all charges against him, so he didn't get the death penalty, but he did get 30 to life with no chance of parole until 2038, and he'd be, pretty damn old by then, which even then I doubt they'll let him out. Jessica's family put up a proper funeral and everything for her. They buried her and all of that. They also put up a memorial for her at the front of the graveyard with a cross that says her name on it. So people will come in and give flowers and gifts, in her respect and everything. But it's really good that this case was finally solved after 17 years to the date. I think that's crazy. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. I guess not enjoyed, but I hope you, found it interesting. I don't know what you would call it, but, thank you guys for watching, and, I will see you guys for my next midweek mystery and makeup, and yeah, thank you guys for watching. Bye!